Thank you, Dom. Welcome, everybody, to the November 26th Raymond Conservation Commission meeting. We'll have a brief agenda tonight with a couple items that we've been talking on in past meetings and what will be the focus of, I think, this year's efforts, namely the Raymond Community Forest Project. I've left some space for other items in case anyone wants to bring up something for tonight's discussion, and wanted to nail down what we thought we could realistically have for meeting dates over the coming months. So on Pismire Mountain, a couple things to report on. I've had some email exchanges with Carrie at Loon Echo, and they are quite excited about the project and spending some planning time on the project, getting some people and resources together. It sounded like they'd gotten what was a second, we got a second $1,000 gift toward this project from a member of the watershed area. Not clear if it's Raymond or it's Raymond. And so folks are interested and activated, I'd say, those folks that are near and close to Loon Echo's circulation of activities. So top on the list for Pismire was that they, this week, where are we here? This week did a site walk starting at the Rosewood subdivision, and they were going to walk some of the paved roads through there, Rosewood and Hancock Road, and then they were going to try to get up on Pismire. I'm not sure which trail they were going to go. I couldn't join them. Didn't fit in the schedule to do that.
Who is they?
Kerry went out with a couple of folks from Loon Echo, and we're hoping to get some support here.
I didn't hear about it.
In Raymond from possibly Carol Meter, who helps them out. She runs the annual Loon Echo Land Trust Trek, bike trek fundraiser, and has been a great source of energy for them. She's doing some conservation work for them now on other projects like Hackers Hill in Casco. So we hope to possibly get a little bit of Carol's time to help us with Pismire. So yeah, my fault, Bill, on not getting the word out. We'd hoped to try to do something on a hike on the 17th of November, just couldn't quite get it pulled together for a group walk up there. But it sounds like they did do a walk. I haven't connected with Carrie yet to see if there were any big outcomes of that. Carrie would like us to get on the selectmen's agenda for December, if possible, to confirm the $50,000 contribution that the town might be able to make contingent upon other funding sources coming available, such as the Land for Maine Futures and a couple other grants that Carrie has her sights on. And so that's an action item for us to get on the agenda for December. And
She said, you're saying 50,000, is that what we,
so when we had the meeting with the
last time.
board, help me out, the discussion was about the possibility, I think, of up to $50,000 of town funding with
In 1 year?
in 1 year, to support the Raymond Community Forest, contingent on other funds being there, obviously. And also, I think, with recognition that the Raymond Open Space Fund would be a significant part of that of that 50.
okay.
And our,
Last meeting, we voted to bump it up to 15
and
the open space fund.
and that's right. Last meeting, we voted to bump up to $15,000 from our prior vote of $10,000. Actually, that was for the Tenny project, for the Tenny River
Was it?
corridor project.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
Where last year, I think in the spring, I think it might have been the spring of 12, as far back as that we had voted as a committee, as a commission, to support the Tenny River Conservation Project with
Right.
$10,000. And that process has moved forward. They've done fundraising. They've worked with the Scouts to secure a plan and drafted their conservation
All right,
easement and
I
so
didn't mean
forth.
to get us onto the Tenny River, I just.
Right, right.
I got the two confused there.
But good to point out the two conservation projects that are on the rails right now, or on the runways, better to say. And so we voted to bump that up to 15 to help their funding meet close its gaps. So I think our balance in the open space fund is around $50,000 right now, might be a little bit more. If we drew 15 out of that, we'd have 35. And so, there's no reason we probably couldn't put 30 or so, I envision, towards the Pismire Mountain project, if it, Raymond Community Forest, if it looked like it was all headed in the right direction, which would leave us 5 in our open space account, be good to not perhaps zero it out. And that would leave something around the $20,000 that would need to come from the town in some other way.
So should we think about approaching the selectmen to include, say, 10,000 this year in the warrant and 10,000 next year to get us back up to that 50 range, and that,
It's an excellent idea, Russ.
so that we're not asking for everything at once, and
Yep.
that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we even have $3,000 or $4,000 in our RCC working budget that we never seem to spend any money on because we're so conservative, I guess. Frugal. Conservationists,
Responsible.
responsibles, but that's good, Russ.
Lead by example.
Yeah. Because the timeline of the Raymond Community Forest Project is
They've got until what, next December? To
December
get all their funding in place, right? And then the following December?
to
finalize
complete the
complete
purchase.
purchase.
That's right.
So does the town would the town have to ante up the 50,000 by next December or the following December?
I think the design of it was that by December 2014, to the end of the month, we would have a clear fix on the funding. Would not necessarily have it in place, but would have a clear fix on it. And that was kind of the deciding point for yes or no. And the way they've done these conservation projects, the other big ones they're working on, plenty of work on Pleasant Mountain, Hackers Hill, Pearly Forest in in Bridgeton, it's a two-town project, is they essentially jump in with some funding and initiate a campaign to close the gap. It runs for several years, 2-3 years, and I don't think they've missed one yet. I don't think they've had to drop one of those yet. I may be wrong on that, but they've gotten their funding targets largely all over the course of a fundraising campaign. I think Carrie's idea here was to get in front of the board just to update them on some of the other grants that are in the, or at least on the horizon, and to update them on how Raymond's own fundraising campaign, private campaign would roll out, starting hopefully in January. And to just refresh on the timeline of the project, but to also keep on their agenda, keep on their front of their burner for the Conservation Commission, the commitment of $50,000 that the town may need to make to have the project fly. So it would be an update along those things, but we could also have it be a request for additional set aside for the open space fund.
Do we have any feedback at all, any gauge of what the select board, what their feelings are at this point about
About the project?
the project and 50K and all that neat stuff?
Well, the sense was at that meeting of, what, 4 or 5 months ago,
Last spring sometime.
last spring, was pretty favorable. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was unanimous, but it was a,
There was certainly openness. There was, and the meeting I remember is when there was concern about the tax consequences, but I
Right.
think they had started to get past that,
yep,
as I recall. So I think there's some openness there on the board. I don't think there's, unless something's come up in the meantime, I think there's some openness to it, to the process and the funding. So I think if we can, take it, split up.
2
the
steps at a
additional
time.
requests that we're having in 2 smaller chunks, and
Yep.
they
Right.
get more open to it.
Would be a good idea to present that right up front, that this is the total, but what do we want to do in 2 separate steps, or?
yep. I think it would be good to have a well spelled out whole funding plan, and so everyone can see where Raymond's piece fits in, where grant funding fits in, where private donations fit in.
And if Carrie wants to go before the board, is she prepared to lay that out in a little bit more detail, Is that her purpose? And
I think that would be, I'm guessing she'd be ready to do that. It'd be a similar run through like she did last time, but with an update on activities and what the grant landscape is looking like. Some of them have dropped out. I think, this is to happen when, right, okay. Right now, it looks like, there's a U.S. Forest Service grant and the LMF grant appear to both be viable. There was one that, that dropped out of the picture. And another one came across my email screen, which was a canopy grant, which I know the town went after. Greg Foster led that a couple of years ago, and they got it for $10,000 to mostly help mark the boundaries of the town and do some survey work, I believe, and there might have been some timber assessment associated with that. So not sure how soon after we've gotten one of those we can dip back into that pot, but if that is available, then we'd have 3 grants on the horizon. Carrie says she's going to try to work on drafting campaign materials in December, and that it would certainly want to be a focus for her by midwinter.
What was that third grant possibility?
So, the Forest Canopy Grant. I think one thing that she's got her eyes on here is a kind of a steering committee for the project, which wouldn't necessarily be just RCC members, but certainly some some interested neighboring property owners and folks that might otherwise be interested with having a little more kind of week-to-week activity on this rather than once a month talking about it here at the conservation meeting. And I believe it's Craig Jerry and certainly Lori Bernier were 2 names that come to mind.
Put my name on there too. So.
That'd be great, Russ.
Just in full disclosure, my family's in a butter to some of that property down along the Crescent Shores.
That's good to know, and I don't see any problem with that. I mean, yeah, there'll be others, hopefully, like yourself, that have a close interest and are ready to help out with some of the focus work.
I live nearby. I suppose I could be involved. I don't know what I could do.
Well, I think, Bill, that, to the extent you're interested, that the mapping piece is probably still there as a highly paid and coveted position in conservation work. But as we go along, there'll be trail maps to kind of outline or conceptualize based on site walks and existing skid roads and existing ATV trail or snow machine trails that are up there, and putting those together will be important for the campaign and also for probably grant applications, and I think for the town's sake we're going to need at least a simple property management plan that talks about where the trails are and what the maintenance items would be, like trail.
And two meetings
clearing.
ago, there was discussion of coming up with ideas for what you wanted to do. Was that ever talked about in October, or haven't we gotten there yet?
No, I think we, I remember that, we talked about it, we talked about getting some mountain bike folks interested in terms of making trails, if the project comes to fruition.
But I don't, Bill, to answer your question, I don't think we've gotten to any,
Specific
there was any
uses.
further
What you wanna
discussion
do.
in
Yeah,
terms of
thank
what
you, Russ.
was there. It was, I think, as John just said, we don't wanna get too far ahead of the process here until they,
Right, but if we're gonna go before the select board,
I think it
Trying
would
to-
be really a very high conceptual type of process at this point, till we start getting down to some.
but looking ahead,
I think this,
you'd have to assume that some of the select board members would have questions specific to details of like, well, what are your plans, what are your ideas, what do you wanna do? I think we need more than, well, we wanna make a park. It's just mine, if I was on the select board, I
I'm not
wanted-
sure, has Carrie covered some of that in her
I don't know.
proposals at this point?
Yeah, I would say
I
that,
think originally we talked about, hiking
Okay.
and
So the,
hunting and some of the kind of traditional uses. I don't think there was a lot of
Yeah.
conversation around creating really,
what about parking?
there's been a couple of ideas bandied about, but no real depth on those discussions.
parking areas, you're thinking, Bill?
Well, cause
Access?
yeah, on the lake side, there's an area that was
There are
cleared.
two log yards, right, on either
Right.
side. of
On
the
either
road,
side of the road, which would
Right.
certainly be a
which would seem to be the
starting place, yeah.
More than adequate.
Yeah.
Parking.
I think, just to kick on this for a second, or a minute or two, low-impact recreation, for starters. But there certainly will be a need to have some motorized access on parts of it, I think. Or there may be, depending on what the community wants to do. Snowmobile trail links, to the extent they make sense with any other trail systems that are on the maps already. I don't think I think there's a trail that goes up along Bartlett Brook to Raymond Pond that's on the state, on our town maps.
I don't know of any trails that are existing down that area
That
at this
ex-
point.
Okay,
They tend to all skirt, a little bit east and north.
east of there, yeah.
On the other side of the mountain more.
Yeah,
And then they cut over so they can get, I guess, over
Gay
to
Brook.
into Morgan Meadow and all that. like
Yeah, right.
Gay Brook and
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah. So that's where it would start, probably with low impact, which would be hiking, skiing. I gotta believe mountain biking would probably fit in some of those anyways. And that the extent of motorized access for snow machines or ATVs would certainly need to be nailed down. There could be areas for both of those. I don't envision an extensive network for both of those. But could certainly entertain some.
I'd be pretty confident that if you got too much into snowmobile access and it somehow in any way directed traffic down toward the lake, you'd get opposition from the landowners in
Yep.
the front there.
Yep,
Then you'd start losing support for the project.
yep. One of the other uses that got kicked around, I think, at the select board meeting was hunting. And, you've got a fair amount of residential presence on the shore of Crescent Lake,
Right.
and you have some along the Kineska, obviously, and, at least the ends of the property, and then up on top, you have some out back. So 300 feet from a road or a residence will limit that. It's not a Morgan Meadow scale place.
Right.
Hunting may
That's-
be challenging.
Right, I think there's a historical precedent people have hunted.
There's
there.
probably hunting that happens there
Yep.
now.
It's not heavily
Yeah.
hunted, because it is a fairly small parcel, or adjacent to some of the homes in the area.
So school, school trips, nature observation, habitat preservation, water quality preservation from just keeping the land undeveloped. There's a fair amount of wetland through there. Those are the other values that would come on it, Bill. And certainly timber harvesting. I mean, that's Raymond Community Forest. It's meant to be a timber managed property. I mentioned the school thing. I guess that would kind of just be kind of educational. So, but steering committee, would obviously need to drill down on this stuff and bring it into more focus and get some community input on nailing down those uses. So, that's kind of the meat of it right now. I think we gotta get on the agenda with the selectmen, and Carrie she wanted to get together. We would obviously need to get together with her before selectmen. Dom, do you have the selectmen's meeting dates for December? They're probably already, are there two?
I see one on the 10th. That's the only one that I see. I can check the website.
What's in January?
I don't have them in my schedule for January yet.
Okay, there's no agenda yet for the 10th, is there?
I'm not sure. I can check right now though.
Okay. Well, that could be a little fast track, but we can see about it.
No, there's no agenda.
Yep, okay. I'll shoot a note to Danielle, see if there's any openings, and if there is, I'll shoot a note to Carrie and see if we can get together before, we would need to get together before that to nail down her presentation and, kind of formalize our request for funding. So how would we as a committee wouldn't have, we wouldn't have a vote as a committee on raising that funding, unless we did that tonight. We could also do it during over email, and that would have more of a, more participants probably.
When were you looking into getting into December?
Yeah, we were trying to see if there was a slot.
Looks like Tuesday is open, Tuesday the 3rd.
And actually, we were just interested in a Board of Selectmen meeting, Tom.
Oh, you wanted to get it on the board?
Yeah, not our own meeting,
Oh,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
The next one is the
Is the 10th, yeah, okay. All right, I'll check with Carrie, and if she's ready to go that fast, I'll check with Danielle. If not, it'll have to slide till January, which is probably okay, given holiday demands on everyone. Okay, well, that's largely it for right now on Pismire. I'm thinking that there's probably gonna need to be two committees. There'll be at least a kind of steering committee that will lead the fundraising campaign, but then there'll probably need to be some kind of subcommittee that nails down kind of a usage plan, and that's where you know, that'll need some support, Bill, on the mapping front, eventually.
I'll get started on my maps. Haven't looked at Greenprint in a while. Probably a little rusty.
So I think the best opportunity would be to put any Gprint info down on the parcel boundaries, but then also have topography, have topography and drainage features.
You can do all that.
All those
Put in
wetland layers are in there, yeah,
Wetlands and
right.
streams and
Yeah.
aquifers and topo and all that neat stuff.
That'd be good. So, that's it for Pismire for tonight. No point in dragging it out any further, but we'll look to having some more, working with Carrie to establish at least one, maybe two little committees that can help run with getting the project on the runway and down the runway. Probably not worth trying to make a hike up there unless we do it on snowshoes, that could be good. It could be an adventure.
Need crampons.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not rule that out.
I was thinking a helicopter.
Mine's in the shop. Can't help it.
So, I'm gonna say, let's move on to other.
Okay,
And I'm thinking, Ben, perhaps you could give us, I know that RWPA has had some, you guys have had some changes in the recent year, and maybe it would be helpful just to give everybody a 5-minute overview of where you're at and where you think the needs are for RWPA. I will say that I got in the mail what looked to be an excellent Crescent Lake Watershed Association newsletter. Haven't read through it all, but the graphics were tight and right on. The topics appeared relevant, and it seemed like it was well put together. I guess Bev, and I mean, Russ, you're on a committee.
I lost touch with that group
You have,
of late. Yeah.
okay. Looked like a good bit of community outreach and information on activities at Crescent
Well,
Lake.
I've been doing a lot. The 319, I think it's just come to that probably, I don't think I've seen it actually, but the 319 is just completed, I think. And I think they may have applied for a second one.
Wow. Yeah.
And sort of following on, Pat
Pat was-
Pond did
yep.
too, then Crescent now is into its second one. Just very briefly, for RWPA, we're sort of wrapping up the year, and we've had some personnel changes. Gary Buckland, who was the president, had to step down, work and stuff. I think there's his office added there were a number of offices added, and so he has been on the road an awful lot, and he and I were corresponding. It was an awful lot of email stuff, and it was just not
Not working?
working. So for the moment, the interim president is Bob Chapin
Okay,
from Thomas Pond. And and that we just took care of this morning, actually. And we're in the process of trying to put together a budget. I think as I probably talked before, quick synopsis is that, we've been involved. RWPA is the one that gets the funds from DEP to take care of the courtesy boat inspectors and that sort of thing. And then we got involved when the main milfoil initiative started in about 2009, late 2009. There was a bunch of money became available, and so RWPA got some of it. We built our own dash boat, our diver-assisted suction harvester. And the idea was that we were to be, and we were able to get, we had a donor that came in with some matching fund requests, and we matched it. So we had a bunch of money for a while. And we thought that we were going to have money moving forward for about 3 years.
Yep.
And it just dried up.
Yep.
So we tried to keep going. The bottom line is, there are two things I think I would say, is that as I think all of the associations around the state have realized that milfoil is much more difficult animal or vegetable to get rid of or to control, and that it's been a learning process, and thanks to LEA, the Lakes Environmental Association, and the work that they've been doing in the Songo, I think we finally there's a technique that's in place that will work, but the problem is it takes money.
Yep.
And one of our success this year was people in Turtle Cove on Sebago Lake. They stepped up to the plate, and we've been helping them basically on the administrative side. It was a combination that we were able to get essentially a free pontoon boat, and then the people in Turtle Cove with motor, and people in Turtle Cove then have stepped up to assume all the other costs, and we just help manage it because we have the experience and the contacts.
So that was the Millie, right? I mean, that was the same dash boat?
We ended up, no, it was Dash. We have Dash 1 and Dash 2. Our idea was that Dash 2 was going to be outfitted, and it would have gone this year in Turtle Cove.
Yep.
That didn't work for all of the obvious. I think, in all the meetings I've been to around the state, things never quite seem to get done on the schedule
Right.
that you would like.
Right.
So what we did is that because we didn't get enough funds for what I call Dash 1,
Yep.
we then were able to re-outfit it a bit and used it over mostly in Turtle Cove.
Good.
There you have to deal with with bags. Whereas the way that Dash 1 is set up, it's set up with these big metal baskets,
Onboard baskets, yeah.
where you then take it over to Port Harbor Marina, and they then forklift it off, and the town comes with their trucks, and we put it in there, and they dump it. But you can't do that in Turtle Cove just because of the
Access and.
the access
Yeah.
where you can offload, so we had to go to bags, which is a fine way to do it, and there's space for it. So that was it's had its issues of getting things going, but what's been, from my perspective is very positive, is that some people have stepped up.
Yeah, it sounds like it worked, because I remember the Turtle Cove people were interested in getting some support back in 2009, and weren't quite ready to run with it, and it sounds as though they came forward and did just that.
Well,
With some help
There's
from
what,
RPA.
it's what, there's one large donor, anonymous, in the Turtle Cove, outside of the Turtle Cove area.
Yep,
Because what's started to happen, is it fragments coming from Turtle Cove, is it fragments coming from, the, Raymond Beach? Where, the fact is, there are fragments now that are
Right.
really becoming a nuisance to people, and they're stepping up, and there's been an awful lot of discussion with state folks. And one quick thing, I just got an email the other day from, the people from Turtle Cove who have not been shy. And they've talked with Mike McClellan. There is, and I'm probably not gonna get this all right, but, there is a bill apparently that has been passed. The language isn't in it yet, but my understanding is that on the 19th of December, there's going to be, whatever the process is,
Yep.
that's where there'll be discussion. And it's to deal with the issue that's plagued me, or plagued RWPA, and I have worried about it a great deal, is I look at the 302 corridor from our perspective in what I call the Jordan Bay.
Yeah.
I tried to get things narrowed. So Sebago Lake's huge. I mean, on our side, it's huge.
Right.
And trying to get people to focus, such as, if you were Little Sebago Lake, like they have done for years, it's pretty easy to get people together,
Right.
get them to buy into the argument, and make money available, and you start to work on the lake, and you can see it. It's been very hard to do that for some strange reason.
transient access population on
I
Sebago.
guess, and there never has been an association in Sebago Lake
Right.
that has grown up, that has evolved to deal with the problem. And so what we're trying to do is, getting back, I'm sorry, I was losing my train of thought. So what the Turtle Cove people did, after a lot of discussion with us, they just simply said, hey, and they sat down and talked with John McFedrin,
Yeah.
who heads up the whole milfoil
Yeah.
operation out of DEP, and they learned how little money the state really makes available for the plant removal side. RWPA gets about $6,000 a year, and that's all. And it probably costs you, the numbers can vary, but it's probably costing you $800 to $1,200 at the cheapest a day
Yeah,
to run the boat. If you hire it out, I just learned the other day to Cliff Cabral's group, I can't remember
Yep.
the name of the firm, it's the New England Milfoil or something like that, it's close to $2,000 a day.
right.
So $6,000 doesn't buy you anything. And so, and with those discussions that we've had with the Turtle Cove people and others in the area, they have gone to McClellan, and he has agreed to put together a bill making the argument that there just needs to be more money aimed at the
Remediation
the
side.
remediation in areas that cross municipalities.
Yeah,
And, has this transient issue. And so it's gonna be very interesting to see if there's a way to pull money out. We haven't bothered with that because in talking with the DEP bill and all, it didn't seem that it would ever be possible. But, what's really nice now, one of the problems that we've had in RWPA is that we haven't had enough people coming from the Sebago Lake side to participate
right.
in the organization. That's changing now, and I see that as being positive. Our problem is that if we want to deal with Jordan River, which I consider Jordan River essentially like a state road. It's just one of our roads because so many people use it.
Right.
And so we have about 3 or 4 different organizations that use that area from Indian Point and so forth. And how do we get people together? What we're going to be doing, starting in January, is that we're going to be putting together a management plan, say for the Jordan River, to say this is what we believe it would take in order to, over a 4 to 5 year period, to get the milfoil problem under control. Based on what the LEA people have done, their
Their
technique.
proven recipe.
Yes, and so, and we're hoping that with that campaign and getting things out, we're hoping to start getting newsletters and things, or getting into the newspaper, that people will begin to understand that if we don't do something, there could really be a real negative impact.
The sticker money that flowed in the mid-late 2000s, that's done. The sticker funding, is that correct?
It's still going, oh yeah, it's still there, but we get, for RWPA receives about $11,000, a little bit more, to deal with the courtesy boat inspection side of it. And we get about $6,000
So
for the plant removal.
17,000 bucks a year coming to Raymond for milfoil management?
Yeah,
That's
but
not-
but it is nothing, the issue,
It's bigger than that.
the plant problem is huge.
Right,
The courtesy boat inspection is it's been very helpful.
yeah. It's
In
worth
the
it.
early days, it was difficult, because people would laugh at you, and they would say, hey, I'm spending $1,500 a week
Right.
in order to be here, don't waste my time.
Right.
That's really changed.
Yeah.
And I was involved with a bass fishing group, down, on Mill Street there in Panther. They had about 8 or 9 boats, and it was a tournament for teenagers. And it was incredible how well it was managed, and I was the courtesy boat inspector for that day. And I was really pleased with that. So that part of it's come a long way. But we still have the issue that there is a real concern that milfoil is not getting less,
Yeah, right.
okay? I'm not gonna say that it's going like wildfire,
Right.
but it's increasing.
Yeah.
And the only way to get control of it is to have a concerted effort, and it has to be probably 4 or 5, where you have it really embedded for a long time. It probably takes 4 to 5 years, because it's just very.
Focused effort, yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
just, and
Right.
we didn't really, when we started, when I think all of the groups around the state started, we didn't have that understanding, that sense. And so, a lot of people in Jordan River gave us money, and we went out there and pulled a lot of milfoil.
Right,
But it wasn't using the right techniques exactly, and it wasn't on a concerted effort year after year.
Year after year was probably the biggest
Because we
gap.
then lost funds, and so now we're struggling
Catch
to
up.
just be able to maintain doing a little bit more on the CBI side than the state gives us.
Yeah,
And then doing what we can on the milfoil side. And it's a real issue,
big battle. So,
and we need a lot of money.
you need more money than you're getting.
And you're going to be hearing from us January, February, March. So-
Well, that, it's good to know that you're still supporting RWPA, Ben. I mean, it went through a boom of activities through the 2000s, and a lot of progress, a lot of pushing, and probably more support from the state as well, and that's tapered off, certainly with the economy, can't have helped, but great that you're still pushing it, and glad to know that there's a Thomas Pond person who's up as at least interim
Yeah.
president, and that is good because it's always been other ponds or lakes that have been the head of.
It's usually been Panther.
It's usually been Panther, yeah. So good to have some geographic spread.
And
there.
we're struggling there as well. We had a pretty large group for a year and a half or so. It's, we're struggling with how a nonprofit really can function with a lot of volunteers.
Right,
We had an executive director that we paid for a full year, and we just found that the monies didn't come in that we anticipated.
yep,
So now we're having to go to a different business model, and we're trying
Yeah.
to sort that out. We have an anonymous donor who's standing on the, in the wings, but we've got to be able to
you gotta
put
have some
together.
structure, yeah.
We got to put together a structure and saying, this is what we think this is what we'd like to do, and this is how we would be able to use those funds, and that's a struggle, because what we don't want to do is repeat this past year.
Is RWP, I know the select board, I know the website's got slots in Raymond advertised for the planning board, because there's 2 vacancies there. There's probably other boards where there's vacancies. Does RWPA have a presence on the Raymond website?
Yeah, we do.
To seeking support, business support?
We, as getting to that, we actually are members of the
Chamber?
Chamber
Good.
of Commerce now.
Good.
And
good.
we actually had a booth at the,
That's good.
October 15th, at St. Joe's. We had a booth. The idea is just trying to raise up our face.
Yeah, good.
And I'll be spending a lot of time, in the first of the year, working with the chamber to see how we can
Magnified. Yeah.
we can get the message out and see if we can't get some people talking and at some point say, yes, we're willing to put some monies in
Good.
because you need the experience is you need 4 to 5 years when it's in a heavy infested area in order to really get it under control. And so that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. The bottom line is Raymond Waterways needs help,
Yes.
and you're open for business.
Yeah,
And so,
and we will, at some point, we may end up talking to the board, the selectmen.
Select board, yeah.
And saying, the town of Raymond gives us a
Right.
goodly sum of money, all right? They've been great to us. There's no question about that. And we're appreciative, and we couldn't have existed without them.
Yeah.
So the town has really stood behind us. But we've got to move on, and we've got to get more than that.
Yeah.
And it's a real struggle. And we had hoped that by having a full-time executive director who was going after grants and all that sort of thing, that
That would-
it would work. It just didn't.
Hasn't yet. Well, I hope
So-
folks out there can hear Ben's plea, and
It's,
feel free to
you
get
know-
in touch with him through the website. I
Yeah.
imagine your contacts,
Bob Chapin is. I
or
think-
Bob
yeah.
at Thomas Pond, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be great. He's got a lot of experience.
Good, good.
Coming out of the military and all, and
Oh, that's
he's an avid fisherman and a hunter, so, he's-
excellent. That's just what RWPA needs, is a sportsman and
So,
some military push. That can't be anything but good.
so we're looking forward to that.
Good. All right, well, thanks for the update on that, Ben. It's good to keep
Well, I wish I had
posted on-
better news. I wish I could say to you that we had
We've cleaned the lake.
$150,000 or so in the thing, and we were gonna be able to go hog wild, but, that's not the
Not
case.
quite the case yet. Let's wrap up. I promised we'd keep it to an hour, and we're at an hour plus, well, about just that, being that we started late. I don't think we can have a meeting in December at the end of the month. What's your calendar say, Bill, for December?
New Year's Eve.
Right. On the 31st, right?
Right?
So that we won't have a meeting then, and the next one in January, that's a stretch out there. What's that date?
28th.
Jan 28th, next meeting, that's far away. But we'll probably have something in December, like a board meeting, board of selectmen meeting to go give a little presentation on. And I do expect to have some exchanges with Carrie here and trying to get some focus and cohesion on a steering committee that can really start to lever this thing along, because it'll need more help than our monthly meetings where we are just talking about it. So with that, does anyone else have anything to add to tonight's venue?
Just a quote from Yogi Berra. that we witnessed on Sunday. Was it Sunday? It ain't over till it's over.
I heard that was the case on Sunday. I didn't see it, but I heard that from some more sports savvy
How about the
coworkers.
Patriots game?
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew they'd come back.
And they came back.
you did.
Ask my wife.
Good, good. Well, we'll let that be for conservation on the, for tonight. And we'll make a motion to adjourn.
And a happy Thanksgiving to
And a
all.
happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Ben.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
The